Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Headbangers Closet. Hope everyone's doing well and enjoyed their weekend. So this video is going to be kind of my take. I don't even know if it's a thread or not, but it's just my take on the video that's kind of been going around the VC. It's my favorite albums from the year 1986. I've seen a bunch of videos from like 83, 84, and whatnot, and stuff like that. But I recently watched Mr. Boulder's video on his favorite albums of 1986. And then I think last Thursday or Friday, I caught Metal Marty Mac's video for his favorite albums of 1986. And I was like, you know what? You know, every record he showed, every record he showed, I was like, oh, that album's badass. And I was like, I'm going to listen to it, you know, love it, have it in my collection. So I was like, you know what? I want to do my own video of my favorite albums of 1986. So taking a page from Metal Marty Mac's playbook, it's going to be a handful of records from 86. No real honorable mentions. I'm just kind of going to group them all in. No particular order, but just my favorite albums of 1986. So going to do that right now. But before we get to it, first things first, what have you guys been listening to lately? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you've been listening to. If you think it's something I need to check out, definitely let me know. Love discovering new bands that way. For me, just since doing the last video, been spinning a couple of albums. Leeds Lords, Burn to My Touch. This is a reissue on Metal Blade Records. Came out a couple, maybe 1 to 2 years ago. It's on white with purple, pink, and blue splatter. Limited to 300 copies. Pretty cool. Really nice looking vinyl right there. Really nice looking with the splatter. This Leeds Lords, Burn to My Touch. Awesome. Just, in my opinion, traditional heavy metal. Really, really good stuff. Check it out. Next thing we have is Wargasms, Why Play Around. Awesome 80s thrash album. One of the best 80s thrash metal albums of all time, in my opinion. These guys are from my home state of Massachusetts. There they are right there. This is my OG copy right here. And, you know, great record. I've talked about Wargasm on my series that I do of underrated and underappreciated 80s thrash bands. Haven't done like an installment from that video series in a while, but these guys were in that. Awesome record. Wargasms, Why Play Around. Check it out. Next thing I've been spinning the last couple weeks, a week or so, is Kiss's Crazy Nights. This awesome record. This is my OG copy that's in really bad condition. That's why I don't even have the record. It's in the back, it's not even in the sleeve because it's beat to hell, but really, really good record. And, you know, yesterday was Sunday, and my daughter had a cheerleading competition, and I knew I wasn't really going to get much time around the house to watch NFL. And, you know, I like to listen to a few records on Saturday mornings before college football starts up, but I was like, you know, I got to go to this cheerleading competition, and I kind of got to get my mind right to sit there for 6-7 hours watching that stuff. So I was listening to Demisers, Slave to the Scythe, killer black and speed metal if you like bands like Venom, Motorhead. You're going to like these guys. I've talked about them before on my channel. They're awesome. They're from pretty close by in Columbia, South Carolina. This album's been out about a year now, and it's been almost a full year since I saw them live in Atlanta, but awesome stuff. Great riffs, great vocals, great solos. Check them out. Demiser, Slave to the Scythe, their latest album. And I've also been listening to Rancid Cadaver. Good buddy George over at George G's Room of Rock sent me a message a week or so ago. Was like, hey, check out the latest Rancid Cadaver record. Really cool stuff. Excuse me. It's good death metal. Give them a listen. Also, this past Friday, which is a couple days ago, I'm doing this video on Monday. This past Friday, really cool death metal band called Glorious Depravity put out an album called Death Never Sleeps. Check it out. Another just really good, solid death metal record. So give that a listen. I always try to listen to a lot of new music Friday and Saturday and Sunday, as well as some stuff, you know, from around the house. I'll spin something. But if I'm kind of out and about, I like to listen to new bands or new albums that came out that weekend. See if there's anything good that I like. So if I missed anything, you know, definitely let me know in the comments below. So let's get right to it. These are my favorite albums from 1986. No real order. Obviously, my favorites are going to be closer to the front, but no real order. We got Sepultura's Morbid Visions. This is the Cavalera reissue from Nuclear Blast. It came out a couple years ago. This was on that really nice red marble vinyl, really sharp looking. It was missed them when they were doing this tour. Also the Bestial Devastation, when they were doing that tour, they did the albums. And then I had tickets to see them with Schizophrenia. They would come around with, and Necrot was in support, and there was a really bad tornado in like overnight while they played. I think it was like Charlotte or someplace in one of the Carolinas, and they were driving through to Georgia. And that night we had a really bad tornado outbreak. So from like 10 o'clock at night to like 4 a.m. it was like tornado after tornado after tornado, and they canceled the show in Atlanta. They just couldn't get there, so kind of bummed. But yeah, awesome album, Morbid Visions. Can't wait till they do the reissue of Beneath the Remains and Arise. Like, I'm crossing my fingers. Next one we have Onslaught's The Force. Really like this album, just like Wargasm. I talked about Onslaught's The Force in my underrated and underappreciated 80s thrash bands video. I love this record. I like the one that came before this. And then, honestly, after that, I'm not a big fan. This might kind of be sacrilege to some people, but the album, I think it was after this. I could be wrong, but it had the vocalist from Grim Reaper on it. I wasn't really a fan of that one. This is another one of my OG copies on Combat. But really, really like this album. It's my favorite one that they've put out. Next, we have Metal Church's The Dark. Really love this album. And, you know, I categorize these guys as thrash metal. But, you know, they're really also could be easily categorized as just heavy metal. They remind me a lot of Armored Saint. When you listen to the riffs from Metal Church, kind of reminds me of Armored Saint. Like, they're not like all thrash. They're that good combination mix of a little bit of thrash, but mainly just heavy metal. The Dark is just a killer album, ton of bricks, great opening track of the album. The whole thing is great, love it. As you can see, I've had this album a long time, and I really enjoy it by the ringwear, and I like to refer to that as being loved on. Let's do this again. Most of these, I would say a good mix of like OG albums I've had for years, decades, I guess you could say, and then a lot of reissues as well. Some of the reissues I'm trying to find OG copies for my collection, but pretty damn pricey. Like this one, Kreator's Pleasure to Kill. I don't remember where I got this, but it's, you know, the BMG 40th anniversary, which when I got it, it wasn't the 40th anniversary of the album, maybe Kreator, but because the 40th anniversary will be November of 2026 is when it came out, I believe. I think November 1st. But this is a nice reissue on red and clear splatter. But awesome record. You know, Kreator, just part of that. You know, I would call them the better of, you know, that big four of, you know, German and European thrash bands. But these guys are awesome. To me, they're the best one of them all, which is another one in this video you'll see later. But an awesome, awesome album, Kreator, Pleasure to Kill, great stuff. Next one we have Ozzy's Ultimate Sin. Amazing album, love it. But if we're, you know, kind of splitting hairs here, I say that a lot when it comes to rankings. If I'm going to discuss an Ozzy ranking, Ultimate Sin is probably going to be like 4th or 5th, you know, 4th or 5th in that ranking. So, Epic Records. Still got the hype sticker on there. A lot of these I've had for years. So, like I said, 86, I was turning 11 years old that year, and I would get the cassette tape, and I would also get the record a lot of times as well. And just, you know, we'd play the cassette tape in my mom's car. I had a Walkman, and I had a little small boom box if I was going to go outside and play with my friends and play football and listen to cassette tapes. But I had a record player in my bedroom. My mom also had one in our like little family area that was like between the kitchen and the living room. And we played a lot of music in our house. My mom was big into music. She would listen to bands like Air Supply, Rod Stewart, ABBA, the Monkees, the Beatles, you know, bands like that. And I would listen to my metal bands. She was always super supportive of me. In fact, a lot of the cassette tapes and records I have, she bought for me, you know, whether it was birthdays, Christmases, Easter, stuff like that. You know, if I did well on a report card, I'd get that, you know, get something. So she's always supportive. Never really liked a lot of the subject matter or the album covers, but at least she was supportive of me. So I have to, you know, give her credit for that. And this record right here was one that she actually bought me. And I believe this was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you'll get 86, long-ass time ago, right? But I believe this was a Easter present It was Poison's Look What the Cat Track did. I mean, how many kids get this for fucking Easter, right? Anyway, awesome record. Love this thing. You got to remember, man, I was 10 years old. So I loved the hair bands. Didn't call them hair bands back then. I was a big fan of, like the Rats, the Motley Crues, the Dawkins, the Poisons, bands like that. And didn't get into thrash probably till 87, 88. So I was into this stuff, and I love this album. Still do. This is my favorite record from Poison. This has to be up there, top 1, 2, or 3 of my favorite, 80s hair bands of all time, hair albums of all time. But great stuff. Love this thing. It's got the, it's pretty rough shape. I'll pull it out. So the thing is split completely, but this is the liner notes here. Capitol Records. I really need to get it in a plastic sleeve. I love this record. I cannot say enough about this album. I must have played this thing thousands of times throughout the years. And Motley Crue being my favorite band at that particular time of my life, Poison was a very close second, though. And another awesome hair album that came out in 1986, Cinderella's Night Songs. Amazing stuff. Again, this is another gift from family. Oh God, it's split to hell. All right, I'm not gonna take it out. There you can see right there, split. But yeah, it's another OG copy had. The cassette. I got rid of all my cassette tapes around high school, like early '90s. That's how I just shit canning all my cassette tapes and just buying CDs. Kind of wish I would have kept them. I'd have no way of playing them now, but at least I had them. But yeah, glad I still have the record players. Are not the same one, but still have the same records. And moving right along, don't want to make the longest video in the world, but Destruction, Eternal Devastation. Again, I was talking about Kreator earlier, how they were the cream of the crop of that European thrash. Destruction's right up there in my opinion. I know everyone's going to talk about Sodom, but Destruction, I mean, these guys are awesome. They're underrated in my opinion. This is a reissue on High Roller Records. High Roller Records does a great job of putting out killer different variants of the records. This one's on like yellow and orange, kind of marbled splatter. I know Metal Marty Mac does a lot of videos on his High Roller Records orders, and I've got a lot of High Roller Record stuff. They put out really good stuff. And check it out, man. They always give, kind of pull this out for a second, just kind of show. Kind of a little under the weather, but I'll power through. So I apologize for the sniffles and me sounding like I'm all stopped up. But they give like the posters of the album, just killer like liner notes and stuff like that. Good stuff, man. I mean, they always do such a great job, with the content that's in the album. It comes with the album, so. Probably have about 10 or 12 High Roller Records albums in my collection. So trying to get the Sacrifice, one of the Sacrifice records. I've got one up on the shelf already, but there's another one I've been trying to get on eBay. There's like 6 or 7 different High Roller Records versions. So anyway, Destruction's Eternal Devastation, great stuff. And I got a story about this one. So Nuclear Assault's Game Over. Amazing thrash band. Love these dudes. Another ridiculously underrated and underappreciated 80s thrash band. But you see Dan Lilker right there, used to be in Anthrax, obviously Nuclear Assault. So one year, it was before COVID, so it was like 2019 or something like that, 2018, 2019. We drove from Georgia all the way to like western New York to the Finger Lakes area for a family vacation. And so my whole family from New England and the Midwest and out on the West Coast, everybody kind of got together in upstate New York, and I drove from Georgia. And we spent a week up there on the lakes, just hanging out, just being with family. I have a very large family. We're all relatively close, even though we don't really... There's a big group of them that still live in New England, but everybody else kind of lives all over the country, so we don't see each other too often. So we try to make these points where it's not fair for everybody that's in New England just to get to stay there and everybody can come to them. So every year we go to a different place in the country, and sometimes you get to drive, sometimes you have to fly, but we always just try to get together. And this one year we went to upstate New York, and I have a good buddy, Bill, that he'll probably never watch this video, but he lives up near Rochester, and I was like, dude, take me to where Metallica recorded Kill 'Em All. It's in Rochester. It's a house now. It's no longer a recording studio. It's somebody's house. And he's like, sure, man. So where he lived was only about 40 minutes away. So I hopped in the car, one day, just after spending the day with family. And it was maybe like just before dinner time. I drove up there, and he and I went to dinner. And then he took me around Rochester to where Metallica recorded Kill 'Em All. I got my picture in front of the building, which is someone's house now. So there's some dipshit with a Metallica shirt in front of the front door being like, yeah, So went to a couple breweries, some local breweries in Rochester, had some beers. But he's like, look, I know you love records. I'm going to take you to this killer record store called the Record Archive. So we go to the Record Archive, and we're standing there in the parking lot, and we're walking in, and this guy comes out, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Dan Laker from Nuclear Assault. And he's like, oh yeah, he works here. I think he's one of the owners. I was like, no way. So he left, and we went in there and shopped. Awesome record store. I mean, holy shit, that place was awesome. Tons of good metal, OG copies, reissues, box sets, everything you could imagine for a metalhead to just spend hours and hours in there. And there's a bar in there too, which is pretty cool. Got a beer, looking through the records. But anyway, he was there, and I was like, damn, if I had known, I would have bought a Nuclear Assault album and had him sign it. So fast forward a few years, there's a record store day. Anthrax puts out for Record Store Day the EP Armed and Dangerous, and he's in the record store signing copies because he's on that album, on that EP, which I thought was really, really cool. So anyway, that's my story about Nuclear Assault. Love the band, love that album. Check it out. I know you guys like it. Next thing we have is Judas Priest Turbo. Now, I'm going to kind of out myself here. Excuse me. I liked this album when it came out. I like it a lot more now. I think Out in the Cold is one of Judas Priest's best tunes. I absolutely love it. But every song on this album is killer. Love the thing. But when this album came out, like I was 10 years old going on 11, right? So I didn't really know, there's this big difference in the sound and all that jazz. But I just remember hearing some of the older kids talk about how they didn't like it because it wasn't as metal as Judas Priest is supposed to be. And I may have let that influence me where I was like, yeah, I don't like it either, man. That album sucks. But I think it's a great album. And like I said, I like it a lot more now than I did when I was a kid. I listen to it a lot more now. I absolutely love this record. It is phenomenal. Just Locked In, Private Property, Parental Guidance, Rock You All Around the World, except Out in the Cold is amazing. Wild Nights, Hot Crazy Days. Oh, such a good record. Love it. Next one we have is going to be Exumer's Possessed by Fire. Amazing record. If you don't really know much about Exumer, think of a poor man's Slayer. I would say Hell Awaits era Slayer. That's kind of what they sound like to me. Obviously, this album came out the same year as Rain and Blood. But I kind of get that, just listening to Exumer, I kind of get that, vibe of Hell Awaits era Slayer. That's what they sound like to me. Like I said, poor man's Slayer. Exumer, one of those killer 80s thrash bands. I've talked about them in my underrated, underappreciated 80s thrash bands series. And, I'm sure we all have bands like this that we really love, but they might not be the best. And, Exumer, you're not going to hear them talked about in the second big four of heavy metal or the European big four. They're not going to be in there. They're going to be, and I guess Nuclear Assault could kind of be in this conversation as well. Maybe that third tier of bands, thrash bands. But for some reason, I absolutely love this band. I mean, I like the fact that they sound like early Slayer to me. Not so much early Slayer, but what I'm talking about, kind of early Slayer. We kind of heard, those first couple Slayer albums. And then the EP, Haunting the Chapel and stuff like that, and Show No Mercy, and then they kind of took that sound as influence, and they sound a lot like them. So I really, really dig these guys. I think they're amazing. So definitely check this out. Possessed by Fire, Exumer. Next one we have is King Diamond's Fatal Portrait. Is a reissue on Metal Blade Records. They put it out a couple years back. And I picked up all the reissues. I don't have any King Diamond OGs. I've got a bunch of Merciful Fate OGs, but no King Diamond. So I really want to get this one as an OG in my collection. Abigail and Them, obviously. And I've seen them all for sale, and I've just never pulled the trigger. And then you see them on those Facebook online auction sales, and people just pay like 4 times the amount you could probably buy them on eBay or Discogs. But for some reason, I don't have any King Diamonds on OGs. I'd like to fix that problem in my collection. But awesome. Phantom Portrait's absolutely amazing. Really lucky to be able to see King Diamond live last year. He came last fall. He came, I think it was last November actually. Came to Atlanta. I was able to see him. Sounds amazing. Next one we have is Slayer's Rain and Blood. I mean, what can you say about this album? What can you say about Slayer that hasn't been said 1,000 times? Probably the best thrash metal album of all time. This one is on Red. I don't see this too often. It's on Red. So kind of cool. Picked it up at a record store in Atlanta about a year and a half ago. Never seen it on Red vinyl before, so I had to buy it. Next one we have is Anthrax's Among the Living. And you know what? I'm kind of tired of people giving Anthrax shit. Like, oh, they don't belong in the Big Four, or throw Testament in there, Exodus. Anthrax is awesome, dude. Whether you think they belong in the Big Four or not is irrelevant. They're badass. They're an amazing band. Everything they've done has been absolutely amazing. This album is no different. Among the Living. And speaking of Anthrax, very excited to announce that I got my tickets to Iron Maiden, Megadeth, and Anthrax in Charlotte. It's going to be on a Saturday. I don't know what the date is. It's September. So if anyone's going to be going to that show that happens to watch this video, let me know. We're going to be hanging out that day, watching college football and drinking beer and eating food. So, you know, let's maybe meet up, grab beer, talk some metal. I'm really excited. Still going to try to make Montreal, but right now I got the tickets to Charlotte. Super excited for it. Moving right along, Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time, probably my second favorite Iron Maiden album next to Power Slave. But just like Power Slave, you can spend hours finding all the killer Easter eggs on here. Great record, so good. You know, Wasted Years, The Loneliest of Longest Runner, Stranger in a Strange Land, Heaven Can Wait, Caught Somewhere in Time, the title track. Just amazing album. I love everything about it. It's my another OG copy. Like I said, a lot of these albums, you know, 86. So I've had these albums for a really, really long time. Love this thing. Next one we have is Megadeth, and I got 2 of the same record here, right? Peace sells, but who's buying? Okay, so I got my OG copy. But I wanted to ask you guys a question. So here's the OG copy. I'm not going to, you know, show every freaking one. But this one I got, it was like during COVID. It was because right when I started my channel. I started my channel during COVID. And maybe like, it might have been like a few months after it. So this one's on purple. Now, it looks more purple on the video than it does to the naked eye. Now, the Rust in Peace also was for sale on blue. It's just a reissue. Nothing special about it other than the color. But one thing I remember vividly was Dave Mustaine. It was like on Facebook or Instagram. He was like, hey, this is Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. Go to the Sound of Vinyl and pick up limited edition. You know, Peace Sells, but who's buying, and Rust in Peace on limited edition, purple and blue vinyl. And I did. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody else like show these. I don't know how many copies they were. I don't know. I didn't really pay too much attention to that. I was like, oh, cool. Take my money. That was pretty cool. Sounds good. But yeah, Peace Sells, but who's buying? Love this album. So I kind of tell another story real quick about this record. So I didn't become a fan of Megadeth probably till like 89. I was a fan of Metallica before Megadeth, and obviously, like a lot of people, like, well, if you like Megadeth, if you like Metallica, you like Megadeth, because Dave Mustaine used to be in Metallica. You know, all the kids I was hanging out with, you know, they liked both bands. So I started listening to them. And I really liked them. But I remember this album and So Far So Good So What in particular. When I was buying records for the hair bands, I would look at Iron Maiden in particular and Megadeth in particular, and just look at the albums and be absolutely like drawn in by the artwork. Before I even before I even got to listen to the music, I was absolutely drawn in. Never bought them for that reason, but like I was drawn in. The Vic, and then the post-apocalyptic blown up like, you know, UN building and the fighter jets in the background right there. And then on So Far So Good So What, Vic Rattlehead with the machine gun, and I didn't know he was Vic Rattlehead at the time. I just saw he was like this zombie alien looking thing, you know, from like post World War III, and like it was cool. It was intrigued me. It also scared me, like all at the same time. So that's just kind of how it was for me back then. But you know, love the album. What can I say about it? It's amazing. My 2 favorite Megadeth albums are Peace Sells, but Who's Buying, and So Far So Good So What. Rust in Peace is amazing as well, but just for the nostalgia reasons, like those are the first albums I saw. I think that's why I like those albums better. But, you know, I'm just weird. Next one, and it's the last one, of course, we got Metallica's Master of Puppets. This is my 2008 Warner Brothers. It's the 180 gram audiophile quality. It's got the not the Japanese obi that goes that way, but it's the other ones just says harder, louder, faster. Really, really cool. And this is on purple vinyl, and I don't want to take it out. All right, you know what? Fuck it. Should be very careful. I don't want to bust it. I already ruined my Ride the Lightning. So there it is right there. Comes off. And it's just like the Megadeth. It's on a purple that you really can't. All right, that one looks better than the Megadeth. All right, at least I can see it better with the naked eye. It looks fairly cool on camera, I guess. But yeah, it's Metallica, Master of Puppets, 2008, Warner Brothers, 180 gram on purple. And I'm not going to try to put the sleeve back on now. I'll wait till later to do that so I don't mess it up. But there you have it, guys. Those are my favorite albums of 1986. Not really in particular order. But, you know, the last, like, 4 or 5, you can kind of tell those are my favorite ones out of the group. So let me know what you think about any of these albums in the comments below. And definitely, if you've been listening to something you think I need to check out, let me know. I love doing that. I love talking about this stuff with you guys. I really appreciate everybody that watches these videos and definitely comments. It seems to kind of be like the same, you know, handful of you guys that do comment each time I do a video. Really enjoy talking about this stuff with you guys. You know, I kind of feel like we're friends, even though we've never really met in person. That's how I feel about, you know, each one of you guys that, you know, watches and comments. So I really, really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. I kind of feel like an idiot doing these. Still, after all these years, like I said, started COVID, I don't feel super comfortable doing it. But I'm happy that, you know, some of you guys at least enjoy watching them and seeing the records I have, and I enjoy watching y'all's as well. So appreciate all of you guys, and I'll have another video for you very soon. Cheers, everybody, and enjoy your week.